Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the live show. Good to have you all here. Let me know if you can hear and see me just fine. I'm hoping so. I have pressed all the buttons, I think, and turned off the music. So here we are. On today's show, I was just showing it off a little bit there before things kicked off, but we're going to talk a little bit. I don't have it here good on my screen. Hold on. There we go. Any questions that you have about ATEMs or live production or streaming or cables or equipment, just throw them in the chat along the way. Be sure to add here to record on there so I can see it even better. And what else? We'll talk about what's new in H2R Gear as well. I have some new features that I released last week, which is a few things I've been working on for a few months now, actually, to get in there, but it's all in there now. And we're going to talk about IBC, which is about less than a month away, happening in Amsterdam. It's similar to NAB, which happens in the US, but it's happening in Europe here, and it'll be in September in Amsterdam. So if you're going to that, you probably already know that you're going to it. And maybe we can do a meetup. We can chat about that later in the show as well. So let me just dig into anything I missed in the comments there as things kicked off. First of all, Peter, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate that a lot. Nice to have you here. Hello from a lot of people all over the place. Hello from the UK, from the US, Germany. Alex wants to know, is the countdown available to download somewhere? Just reach out to me on email or through the website, and I can get you a copy of that for sure. Maybe we can make a little change to it. I do have some plans. I haven't really talked about this publicly just yet, but I have some plans about making countdown timers available in all sorts of varieties. So that would be one of them, I hope, to get added to that future site or store or whatever it ends up being. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, then do let me know, and I'll make sure it's happening. Ian in Glasgow, hello from Sweden. Peter, Stockholm as well. Good to have you here. UK, lots of places. Always good to see. Nathan Ray, nice to have you here on the live show. I don't know if you've been here specifically on the live show, but good to have you here. I appreciate it a lot. I think maybe once before. A big fan of your channel whenever I was kicking off my channel, so it's good to see you're making videos again about all that good stuff. 6 Minute Media says, can only hear you when you speak, so I know that it works when I'm speaking, but maybe not when I'm not. Neil says, I'll steal that one if anyone asks what I do, professional button presser. That is basically what I tell people these days when they ask me what people hire me to do for jobs and stuff. It is just pressing buttons. That is most of the time. Let me see a question here from Nathan. My old ATEM had SDI and HDMI inputs. Do you think that's coming to the Mini or Extreme? I don't believe so anytime soon. Basically because the ATEM SDI range just got released from Blackmagic to sort of revamp the HDMI versions of their setup. I doubt anytime soon that we'll see a mixed version of that form factor. But obviously I have no idea, and it seems like they're making it all up as they go along. In a sense, I guess that's true. No matter what, they're making it up as they go along. But there's a lot of freestyling going on there, you can see. So I would love to see a mixture. I think that was one of the main pieces of feedback on my video. Well, not that it's feedback for me because I didn't make the product, but people saying like, oh, it's great to see SDI, but I would love to see SDI and HDMI. We can never be fully happy, any of us, because we all want our own version of it. But a mixture of the two would be very interesting, I think. The fish are proprietary. Yeah, maybe not the fish. The fish might not make it into your content timer, but maybe you can add them yourself. Shane and Hannah Holland wants to know, what quality are you streaming in? This is currently being streamed at, let me see, can I show you my web presenter? You're probably going to see some fun feedback happening here. There we go. But I am using the web presenter to stream this, and you can see at the bottom, now it's just ducking down to 8.7, but it was touching about 9 megs a second there a minute ago before I clicked off of that. So around there. Streaming high, which is one of the settings in the ATEMs and the web presenter. So streaming high at 1080p 60 makes it to be about in just under 10 megs a second. I'm pretty happy with the internet quality here to be able to stream that high bitrate. I certainly couldn't do that at home whenever I lived and whenever I worked and streamed from the tiny house, tiny studio. There's no chance of that. All right, Alex says, might be jumping the gun here, but I'm going to need to custom make some SDI cables soon. What cables and connectors would you recommend? Good question. That is one of the things I wanted to talk about on the show today. So I have on the table here in front of me, if you were watching the stream like a month ago, I did talk about wanting to build custom SDI cables for my studio space here because I was switching to the Constellation HD, which you can just see back there, and it's all SDI based. And I did that, and I ordered them a month ago, and they got stuck in postage for a solid month. They were close to my house a day after I bought them, and then the next month went by, and they just sort of circled and never made a delivery. But they're here now. And last week, I spent some time building some, or I don't know if you'd say building, but creating some cables. So here's a little excuse the noise, a little sample. These are between 50 and 70 centimeters, I think I ended up measuring them at. I can't remember now. I kind of freestyled these ones. But these are like little patch cables that I made for the Constellation setup behind me. So it's perfect for patching from all the gear below the Constellation and above it. So I have like a web presenter there. You can see right in the middle, the two screens and all that stuff. I didn't have enough cables to power all of that and power all the things in front of me. But now I do. I have enough cables that they're all being used there. And I have a bunch sitting in front of me as well. I should have said before I started this stream that I was off sick all last week. So apologies if you see a lot of coughing and water drinking. I'm back to 90% normal, but not quite there yet. And then I also made a bunch of these SDI cables, like 5 meter lengths, just perfectly for getting across the room here. 5 meters goes from the back of the Constellation to the camera in front of me. So these are perfect for that. What you might notice at a glance is these are quite thin cables compared to your standard SDI that you might purchase for whatever you're building. So what I chose here, let me see if I can just get this up. I'm going to show, does it make any sense? I guess I can show the website that I bought them on. If I can remember what type I bought of cables. But I chose the Belden 1855A? I'm sure it was that. Let me see. Copy that. Yeah, let's just go for this. Why not? Where's my super source button? There it is. So 1855, I believe that was what I went for. And not in the black, but in the purple variety is what I opted for in the end, which is a good mixture between a pretty good price, relatively speaking. I don't know if you've ever bought this kind of stuff before, but it's not the most inexpensive thing to purchase. But this one I found was a pretty good price, and it meant that I could get a 300. Apologies, I just realized that this is not in English. This is in Swedish because I bought it here in Sweden. Not that I fully understand all of this detail, even if it was in English, but I went for this one because I figured it was a good price and a good amount. So I ended up buying 300 meters of this stuff. And actually, if you look behind me, you can see that 300 meter spool right there. I've already used a good 50 meters of it. Maybe not even that much, but I went for that one. So that is the cable that I purchased in purple, in case you want to know. And then I also, what did I also get? Oh yeah, so there's so many pieces to the puzzle here if you haven't done this kind of thing before. So you buy the cable, of course, and then you buy the connectors. So here in front of me, I have these little connectors. These are the, apologies, it's a bit far away, but these little tiny ones from Belden. Which ones are these? This is the box that they come in. It doesn't really make it very clear which one it is, I don't think. Yeah, so if I can just show you the side here. 1855A BHD1. Trying to remember that after the stream. So these are the ones that are made to connect to the to this cabling, which is, you know, you want to choose the right connectors for the right cable. And suppliers that supply this kind of cabling and stuff will help you do all that stuff. Make sure you buy the right pieces to go with each other. And you can see here that I've made nice progress through this box here. This was full of connectors. That's why I ended up buying 2 more boxes of these connectors. Not inexpensive. And then, of course, you need some tools to make all this happen. And there's several ways to make SDI cables. One would be to crimp the cable, and the other would be to compress it. I hope I have those terms right. I'm sure many of you pros on here, or if you check out Doug Johnson's channel, he's got some good videos on this kind of stuff. So this is certainly not a what did somebody say, a masterclass on creating cables? No, far from it. But it's my experience so far of making a few successful cables. Not all of them. I wasted a few expensive connectors. So some tools that you need for this compression style that I ended up going for. Well, I got this little slicing, dicing, cutting tool. You put the cable in there, spin it round, and you can split the end off the cable. And then I also got the compression tool as well. So you put a little SDI, BNC connector on the end of the SDI cable, put it in here, compress it down. It takes an enormous amount of force for someone as weak as me, but each cable took a while to make because I do not have the upper or the arm strength to make them so fast. And all of those pieces together, you've got the cable, you cut a piece off, you take off the end, you put on a connector, you crimp it all together, and you've got yourself a lovely SDI cable. And then you remember that you didn't buy a tester, so there's no way to, well, of course there's a way to test it. You can plug it in and make sure it works. So I did that. Plugged them all in, and they all worked, except for the ones that didn't, and then I fixed those. And the paper weights of SDI, or sorry, BNC connectors are sitting over there, the ones that are now unusable because I've compressed them and they're broken. So it's been a fun week of, or I guess that was last week, making some cables. But it does give me the ability now, whenever I want to make a cable run from the back here to the front, or from this room to the other office space I have next door, I have all the cabling to do that. I have all of the tools to do it, and I can do all that stuff, which is really nice. And apologies if I'm missing any questions on this. I will get to it pretty soon. Oh, maybe that's all I had to say. I've created a bunch of cables. Most of them worked, and then I fixed the ones that didn't. Save a few questions from later. That one. I'll come back to those. And, oh yeah, here's Alex again asking, is it time to change the brand? I'm Here to Stream. I have joked about that a lot, actually, that I should mix things up and change it to I'm Here to Stream, but it's probably not worth making that change of a company name. I've got a lot of things that say I'm here to record on them, so I think I'll just stick with that for now. But absolutely. I always end up doing some record. Even though I'm there to stream for stuff, I always end up pressing record somewhere. So, it's still slightly valid, just about. What else? The YouTube player switched to 240 res for some reason. Okay, I hope that that's not on my end, and it's just on your end. We'll find out, I guess. Question here, John's cable class. Well, maybe I'll make a few hundred more of these cables and then be confident that I can give you a good lesson on it. In fact, the first 10 cables that I made, I realized that there's a blade in here. Just in there, you can just about see that there's a blade. There's a few blades, obviously, to cut things or to slice them. And I ended up having it in the wrong place for the first 10 cables. So I never redid those, but it took me a bit of trial and error to get that right. And then eventually I was onto something and I made cables that worked. So I'm happy. Excuse me. Tech Condo Petra says, you had me at purple cables. Yes, I know that you're a purple fan, so these are for you. It seems so boring to go for black cables or the standard colored cables. In fact, I used to watch a lot of, speaking of early YouTube channels, not only did I watch Nathan Ray's channel, who's here in the chat, but I also used to watch Studio Tech TV as well, which was a YouTube channel making all sorts of stuff about this kind of equipment. And they always said that they would choose a nice colored SDI instead of boring black ones because it just makes it a bit more interesting. And especially in a dedicated space like this, where it's all my area, it's all good. I can just choose an interesting color instead of going for a boring black cable. Refer to the manual, John. Yes, I did refer to it, just not right away. I got there eventually. And yes, excellent choice, Tech Condo purple. And yes, you're absolutely right as well, Petra. The connector there is also purple. That was accidental, if I'm honest with you. I did not mean to get that one. I guess it was the only one that was available for the cable. But yes. And you liked Studio Tech TV as well. Some great videos on there for sure. Let's see here. Off air with Jezza. Good to have you here as well, member of the channel. And you are still in the members only pre-show chat. We're at the same time as I do the show, I'm doing a extended members only Zoom call. So we chatted half an hour before the show, and we'll chat for about a half an hour after the show as well on Zoom. And today everyone can see a multi-view. You can actually see it in that screen back there, a 4-up multi-view of the show I'm sending into Zoom today. Well, I missed your question there. What was it? Would you add H2R stickers to the cable to personalize for ones you'd possibly take to a gig? I think purple on purple, right now, there's probably not that many people using purple on purple. So if I brought these to a gig, I might get away with it. But definitely it's something I wanted to add on there. It's just like an extra little detail that helps me know what cable I brought. Most people end up bringing a boring black SDI cables, so I think I can get away with it. But I'll definitely do it. Eric, good to have you here. Doug Johnson definitely has a BNC cable making technique and system down. He does, absolutely. His video about it is very good. I think he prefers the other crimping method as opposed to this compression one. But I like this. I like this way of doing it. I don't remember why, but I've used this in the old job I used to work at before becoming freelance, and I liked it a lot. And Alvin says, Studio Tech, that was a great live stream. Yeah, I wonder, based on the audience here, I'm sure most people have watched a video from Studio Tech, or many of us have, but I'd be interested to hear if it's something that you watched out there in the chat, because I used to watch those videos all the time. I used to watch every detail on the ATEM, and it's one of the reasons I started a YouTube channel, because I started watching their videos, and by the time I was done watching all their videos, I realized that they had stopped making videos mostly. So I decided maybe it's time for me to do it. But there was like a space there I thought that would make sense to start making videos, so I did. Good tip for a good tester for 12G SDI. Maybe somebody else in the chat does, because I don't actually have a good tip for that. I'm not entirely sure what a good tester would be, unfortunately, Peter. Apologies. But if somebody else does, let us know, and then we can see if anybody owns it as well and give it a test. Grant, I might be doing this soon. Looking to get a video hub, a bunch of patch panels for a portable rack, and I'm going to need a bunch of short SDI cables for that. Yeah, it really makes sense, I think, whenever you want to get a bunch of short ones, especially if they're slightly varying length as well. So one of the things, this setup will be a pretty fixed here in my office and studio space. But if I was going to bring this out on the road or something similar, and I wanted to build it into a case and then add SDI to that, I would be a little bit more picky about where the cables went. And in order to not buy a bunch of cables from some website and then they're all the same size, it would make a lot of sense to measure exactly the length of the cable that you want. So this method it definitely makes sense in the end. I will say though, whenever you purchase all the things, in that moment, your cart looks like a lot of money, and I've went back and forth for months now about whether or not to do it, and I put all the items in the cart several times, and then I've not bothered. So it was nice now to finally do it. Getting better, already working for 50% again. Hope later this week, 75%. Oh yeah. Sad to hear you were not feeling well, Petra, but good to see you're getting back again. I'll save that for later. Alvin says, what stickers do you use? Most seem to come off easily. That's probably one reason why I haven't decided to put stickers on these cables, because I have found the same thing. I used to use like a label printer to make labels and stick those on there, but they came off really easily. I've seen a few stickers that have come off very easily and sometimes leave like a residue on the cable, which is not so fun. I think in general, it's probably better to opt for like the heat shrink. So like a piece of, not so much sticker, but like a little label with heat shrink over it, and then that just sort of wraps it into place. That's probably the best way to do it, so it stays in place and it doesn't come off and get all sticky. So, but I'm not going to do that here. I don't think it makes any sense. Have the connectors got different colors? They do have different colors if you purchase some other ones. I lost the website. I left it again. So the ones I chose were for the right cable, and if you choose a different one, you get a different cable. But all mine have the same color, so I stuck with that. R.I.P. Peter. Absolutely. I watched almost all of them. Oh yeah, we're getting a few more Studio Tech TV fans coming in, watching all of those videos for sure. Lots of great stuff on there. A good tester is the video assist, says Jeremy. Send and receive video. That's a good point. That's a really good small lightweight way to just test stuff out. Okay, Morton, question: would you use these cables also for flush mounted SDI? Flush mounted SDI. I'm not actually sure what that means in this moment. You might have to tell me more about. Oh, okay, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, what you are referring to would be something like a flush mount BNC. So it actually goes inside of the connector instead of being exposed on the top. So like a patch panel or something would have these flushed. If that's what you mean, then it might get. I would use it for that. Yeah, I think it would be as easy as the rest. I'd have to try it. I do have some BNC little like patch panel style connectors somewhere, so I would definitely use that for this, unless I'm misunderstanding what you mean. And another question here from Morton, which is a great question. Why didn't you choose cables that are 4K ready? So that's another point. These cables that I chose here. Oh, what happened to your picture? It disappeared. These cables that I chose here are not technically rated for 4K. I think that they're only up to 1080p 60 at certain distances, which is, for me, was a decision I made since I bought the Constellation HD. It would have made sense to sort of future-proof myself, of course, to go for the 4K version. But everything here that I have is 4K, HD only. I think the only thing that isn't is this little device here recording is the Ultra Studio HD Mini, whatever, not the last line, but the previous line, and it has 4 Ultra HD 30 capabilities, which I never use because nothing else that I have here really uses that. So when I was making the purchase, and price is another part of that too, but when I was making the purchase, it just didn't make any sense to me to get the 4K capable stuff. I thought HD was perfectly fine for the next few years, because I'm hoping that I'm going to use this kit for the next few years. Although when I got the ATEM Mini Extreme, which you can see back there, I thought I would use that for a couple of years, but that was like a year and a month ago, or a year and a bit ago. Time goes fast. And you're absolutely right, Alex. If you don't need lots of cables, more than 10 or 20, it doesn't really make financial sense to make yourself. An SDI spool in the UK runs 40 pounds. 40 pounds. 400. Oh yeah, you corrected that. 400 pounds. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. It doesn't make any sense if you don't need that many. And what I opted for doing was I was slowly buying a couple every once in a while when I needed them, and I realized that I'd rather just have a big spool and create them whenever I needed them instead. But you're right. You look into the investment costs. Wow, there's a lot of chat about about cables today, which is great. On Location Live TV says, I installed a Constellation in my rack, replacing the ATEM Television Studio HD. Excuse me. I bought my cables off Amazon, but it is better to know how to build them, save some dollars. Yeah, exactly. If you need enough of them, like we chatted about a second ago, then you could save some money making them yourself. But I don't think it's always about the money. If it's a huge difference, then absolutely. But if it's not a huge difference in money, the ability to make them whatever length you want is a big part of the equation as well. So I kind of just took one of my other thin SDIs that I had previously and made that the template for the size of these. And these are all the same size. Not that one, obviously. That's a long one. But all of these are the exact same size. Oh, okay. You can see from there they're not the exact same size. All of these are approximately the same size. But if I wanted in a custom rack build, if you're building from left to right, in theory, some of the cables going to a patch panel may be 5 to 10 centimeters longer than the ones on the start of the run or on the end of the run. So the further over you go, maybe the shorter they all get if you want to cable manage everything in a certain way. So in that case, if you want the sort of ultimate customization and flexibility within the case, then it does make sense to spend a little bit more money to make it happen. But it really depends on the money you have to spend. We make sure everything's working just fine. Great, it is. No, YouTube, leave me alone. Okay, it's working. Eric says Ryan Summerfield does the clear sleeve shrink wrap over his SDI patch panel cables. Definitely works when you make your own. That's definitely true. And in fact, the clear shrink wrap works best whenever you put it on before you create the cable. So I'd say that for me on some of these, but it could be something I could add on here, definitely. What else? Is it possible? Digital Creations 2012 wants to know, is it possible to make cables for the Video Assist 5-inch 12G? They are mini connections. That is a great question. Actually, I do not have an answer to that. SDI DIN cables. So if you're not familiar with that style of connection, it's really a little bit annoying, but they have these little mini SDI cables here, or DIN connectors, I believe this one's called. So the standard BNC is on the left. I'm a little bit slow today. Apologies. So the standard BNC here is on the left-hand side, and then the DIN connector, DIN connector, is on the right-hand side. It might be called something different. I believe that's what it's called. And in this case, you would need a very special tool to make this tiny BNC connector. But what I have is, do they have these on easy enough to find here? So you can get the DIN to, oh, maybe this is it on B&H here, actually. Yes, that's it. So they call it a DIN or DIN to BNC female connector. And in that case, you get a really short cable with this DIN connector on one side, and then you can connect any SDI cable you want to this side here. So get like a tiny one and use that instead. 1 foot, there you go. I would get that. It's not cheap though, because I have no idea if you could actually make this cable very easily. Someone can tell me, I'm sure. So I have one of those because I have the Video Assist, whatever it was called before, the 6-inch, 5-inch version, the old one, and I use exactly that for that. So that would be better route, I think. 4K is overkill for this sort of streaming. Absolutely, I agree. And the Studio Camera 4K is 4K. Yeah, I have a Studio Camera 4K in front of me, which is 4K out of the SDI, but I never use it for that. It can record internally 4K, which I would use it for, but not to stream or anything like that. Nathan Ray back again. Most of my clients wouldn't notice if I streamed at 720 and 3 meg. Resolution video quality is overrated. Yeah, I watched, whenever I had so internet, I watched all my YouTube videos at like 360p for a year, and after a while you just don't realize until you watch something in 1080p again, and it blows your eyeballs. But people get used to the quality they see very easily. So 720p looks great on a lot of devices these days. Maybe we're picky about it, but it looks great. A Graham here coming in with, I certainly agree with making cables the size you want. I've done that for Cat 6, which are just a nightmare to make, in my opinion. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for HDMI. That's true. You can't really make a HDMI cable yourself. Maybe you can. Maybe there's like a really weird tool you can buy that lets you do that, but I wouldn't want to buy that. And yeah, Cat 6 cables. I never enjoy making those. That drives me a little bit nuts. And I can imagine trying to sort all the wire ends and crimp them correctly for a HDMI cable. Yeah, it'd be a mess. Okay, Thomas here, who's also in the Zoom call that we're all hanging out in pre and post show. Become a member of the channel if you want access to that in the future. Did a large AliExpress order recently for SDI patches, but underwhelmed by the quality of the connectors, and it still wasn't cheap. That's a very good observation. Good to know. That's something people would definitely jump towards. Get them on there, get a bunch of them, and then be disappointed whenever the time comes. Whenever they come. Lintaga says, in 360p, I'm more good looking. I have talked to you and I can confirm that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I have more questions. I think maybe that wraps up our John's Cable Corner. Maybe that could be a recurring segment on the show, but that wraps up John's Cable Corner. I don't think I have anything more to say about cables until I make more. I have 200 and something odd meters to go of cables to make. I have 3 packets of connectors to get through. I doubt that I'll use all of those anytime soon, but I have the ability, which is great. And I'm sure I'll use plenty. Okay. Oh, wait. Did I miss something? Here's one. Question, I may have missed you saying it, but are you building cables for 3G, SDI, or 12G? I think you're primarily 3G workflow, but could be future-proofing. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I missed that question earlier, but yes, it's all 3G based. Perfectly fine for my use case. I'm happy with that. Okay, Wood Turning Tool Store wants to know, can you explain how to show the transparent and out of focus credit roll or intro? Oh, there's no trick to that, unfortunately. So on my other live streams, I don't have it with me today. Or I didn't have it set up today, but on my other previous live streams, I would show a behind the scenes camera, which is being pulled apart over there. And it would be shooting over the shoulder of me, and it would be out of focus with intro music playing and all that kind of stuff, or whenever I roll my credits at the end. But the trick to it is just going over there before the show starts and just taking the camera out of focus. There's no fancy detail there, unfortunately. Nothing cool. I know that David Joshua Ford on his YouTube channel, he does something similar. In fact, I'm pretty sure I copied it from him, if I'm being completely truthful to you. Stole the idea from him. Let me see if I can get one of his live streams up here. So when he kicks off, I'm just waiting for a YouTube video advert to end here any second now. 2 adverts. Why did they change that? 1 advert was more than enough. But whenever he kicks off his live stream, he has a top-down shot out of focus as well. This is the longest advert ever. I'm still waiting for it to finish. And what that lets him do is a nice little countdown timer. I can show it to you here. And everything's out of focus, and he shows his timer. And that's pretty similar to what I've been doing. In fact, like I said, I stole it from him. And it looks really good, I think. This is one of his recent videos. Excuse me while I take some water. Where he live streams every week. Check out the channel. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll just post a link to this in the chat here so you can go ask David Joshua Ford how he does it. In fact, I'm going to tell you. But he uses PTZ cameras. So he's got 3 of those set up. I believe 3 of those, or 2 of those set up. And one is slung above him, or mounted above him. And then, obviously, with the PTZ, you can actually control the focus and set it out of focus, and then get it in focus when you actually want to use it. Which is what I want to do instead, is take control of the camera that's behind me. Unfortunately, I use a Panasonic G7 back there, so I don't really have control over that. I don't even think they have USB control, so it's just a really long answer to your question, which is turning the camera out of focus instead of a funky way of doing it, unfortunately. Lindhager wants to know any stuff in the studio like a freezer or a coffee machine. I could do with a freezer today. You can probably tell that it's hot in the studio today. I have a lot of sun blasting on me all day. So I'm coughing and melting at the same time. So I could do with a freezer, but no. But I do have I just got a small little coffee machine for the other studio over there, which is keeping me caffeinated during the day. And I also just got a 3D printer in that space 2 weeks ago as well. So I've been playing with that. I built it over the last few weeks. It took me a few days. It was the this one here, the original Prusa Mini kit from Prusa 3D, and it comes. You can get it semi-assembled. You can get it semi-assembled, which is, if you asked me now, I would tell you to get it semi-assembled. Don't be a hero and try to build it yourself. Just get them to build it for you. But I got it in this kit form here. Well, not here. It comes in like 10 boxes, small boxes, and all the screws and lots of 3D printed parts and motors and stuff. And it took me like 3 days to build it. I got so frustrated sometimes. But I've got it printing. In fact, on the desk here, I have this fun little 3D printed nut and bolt. If you get into 3D printing, I'm sure this is something that you immediately printed yourself. But I think it's so cool. And Urian, my old boss at the company I used to work at, he had this on his desk, and I used to sit and play with it all day. It's a fun little 3D printed pieces that go together. So I'm working on getting into 3D printing, and I've been thinking about that for years. I've wanted to get a 3D printer. I never had space to put that printer. So I now have a space in the next room where I don't have to listen to the 3D printer printing, because I find it a little bit obnoxious, the noise. Distracting as well. So I'm getting into 3D printing, and I've got lots of little bits and pieces I want to 3D print. But one of them I was just working on today as like a little prototype piece, which is, you can just about see it here. I'm hoping to make like a little Apple corer for SDI that's a bit more travel friendly than the ones that you can typically get. So if you're familiar with SDI corer tool, is that how you spell that? Yeah, this one. It comes with it's sort of like a screwdriver, but with like a little end on it that you put into an SDI cable. And when you have the SDI cable in a rack, and you've got loads of them right beside each other, you can use that tool to extend in. Where is it? Like a screwdriver, you can just extend it in there and twist it, and then you can pull out the SDI cable. If you've ever stood in the middle of a show, knowing that you have to change a cable, and you're, warm and sweating because it's pressure, and it's dark, and you can't see anything, and all you have is your fingers to get into a patch panel case and change an SDI cable, then you'll understand why you need a tool like that. So I've just started prototyping like a little, you can't see that, like a little tool that would allow you to do something similar out of 3D printed. Right now I haven't really set it up right, but it needs some little teeth, and then you could just, clip it in there, pull it out. Maybe this could sit on a keychain or something, so it's a little bit more subtle. I'd have to make it out of some stronger material than this PLA plastic that I have, but something I'm sort of having some fun with and working on. Because years I've wanted to get into it, and many people along the way, and one of those people who've not forced me, but led me down the path, Urian, who's just happened to join the chat here. I'm glad you've taken the 3D printing step. The Mini is a fantastic machine. You should get a Raspberry Pi as well to remote control it. Yes, that one of the reasons I got that one is because I had familiarity with it whenever I worked there, and Urian had it too. So nice to have it in my hands as well and play with it. Not that I ever used it there, but I saw it. I saw him using it many a day. So it's fun. It is a really fun little mind activity. Something that you plan in a 3D tool, and then you slice it up, and then you print it, and then this is what you get: a whole piece of plastic, and then you realize what you did wrong, and start over again. But it's a good process. I'm enjoying it a lot. Time is just disappearing. I'm talking an awful lot, so let me keep going here. Maybe I'll see if some questions for the area end here. What software do you use for creating your 3D stuff? Right now, I've taken a leaf out of Mr. Parecki's book, R.M. Parecki's book, and opted for Shaper 3D. So it's an iPad, iOS. I think it's only iPad software that lets you build 3D models. In the past, I used a lot of tools. I used to use Blender a lot and tools like that, but those were years ago, and I've forgotten all of those skills. But I have found that the combination of the Apple Pencil, like this little piece I made here, minus the teeth, where I just designed that up in a few minutes or whatever, and then sliced it up. But I'm still learning that stuff. I don't really have good answers for that just yet, because there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of guessing going on at the same time. Oh, they have a Mac version of Shaper 3D as well. Good to know. So I might try to install that and use that as well when I'm in the studio here. But I really like the Apple Pencil support. It just feels very intuitive to make that all work together. On Location Live TV says that screwdriver tool is a lifesaver, especially when your gear is a rack mounted in a flight case and you need to make a change. Exactly. I mean, even this case behind me here is packed full of stuff, and it's hard for me to get in there to those SDI connectors. So I'm hoping to put together a little tool that I can make myself and make available for people to print themselves as well, just to make life a little bit simpler. Those are the best kind of fixes. Okay. How did we do? Apologies if I missed any questions so far, but feel free to stick around. I'll try to get to them all. IT Never Gets Old says, making out of focus an art form. I'm going to use that as an excuse. Yes, out of focus is a very manual process of getting up and going out of focus. Okay, I want to dig into H2R Gear just a little bit today because I am quite keen to show off some new features that I've put in there, some things that I'm quite excited about. Let me log in, and I need to actually open up all the changes because it's been like a week since I released it, and my memory is failing me in my young/old age. Let me close all these tabs. So H2R Gear, if you're not familiar, in fact, this is something I'm going to make a video about really soon on the channel, is like, what is this tool? Because people find their way to the YouTube channel and have no idea what I'm talking about. But basically, it allows you to make plans of your equipment. For example, if I go to this office plan here, 2ME, and open that up, then I can see my ATEM constellation in the middle, and I can see all my gear that's connected to that. Each little block represents a piece of equipment, and each cable represents a cable in the studio. So that's a little sneak peek at, no, not sneak peek. That's a look at what H2R Gear actually is, if you're not familiar. Anyway, things that are new in this version. So I've made a ton of big changes, or a ton of useful changes, I think, that will really help with using the app overall. And one of them, which I can start with, is the ability to add new gear, but build it right on the gear plan itself. So in here, in this little quick builder, I can create a little item here. Maybe it's like one SDI input, one HDMI input, one SDI output, one HDMI output, for example. Add that to the plan, and then now I have that piece of gear. It only exists in this one place here, but I have it ready to use for things. So I can connect the HDMI, and that equipment is in action. Perfect for I just want like a laptop just to exist in this plan for this one job. I'm not going to use that laptop for any other job. Just give me that laptop. That's what that is all about. And in fact, if you want to make changes to any gear item in the plan, you can now edit it, and it brings up that full gear builder as well. So you can make changes to a lot of these things now, changing connections and all that good stuff. But there's no but. that's what it is. So you can make changes to all that good stuff, and it works nicely, as you would expect it to. Let me see what else. I've added yes. So one of the biggest things that have been added and asked for over the years is, what do you do with bidirectional cables? What does that mean to you? What does a bidirectional cable look like? So all of my current cables, as you can see here, SDI goes from the camera along the cable and into the ATEM, hence the little arrow there. And I think that's one of the things that's just been sort of stuck with people, is like, if the data goes that way, if the signal goes that way, then there's an arrow that way. But if you have something like network, or in this case, actually I have an example here, USB, you can pass data back and forth. My Flow 8, Behringer Flow 8 audio device is actually connected to my PC right now, and there's stuff going both ways. So what I've opted for in that instance is just removing the arrow, and now it has like a little indicator there instead on both sides. So there's no need to show like data flowing any direction. And what's quite neat though is, if you were to draw a cable between these two, in the old version you would do it like that, but in the new version you can do it any way you want. So you can go from this direction or that direction. So it kind of flattens the idea that there is an input and an output. It still is that way in the application, but at least it doesn't give a newbie or a trainee the expectation that this cable has to go out of that into that. One of the things I wanted to add it and make clear for a while now, and I'm happy that it's finally in there. Torsten wants to know, is it easy to modify with an Apple Pencil? I wouldn't say so. I've never actually tried it with an Apple Pencil, but it doesn't really go well on an iOS, an iPad OS right now. In general, because it's not something that I can make work very well without building like a native application for those services. So if I was to build something specifically for iOS, for example, like a iOS app, then that could work. But I don't think it works so well with this. I'm just grabbing my Apple Pencil here. And if I just try it, then at least I know if it works or not. Yeah, no, it doesn't work so well. So not really made for that. I would love to make like a iOS capable version of this. I'm sure it would run really fast and look really great, but not currently. But good to ask. Thanks for asking. Okay, where's my tab? This would be great. Yeah, it would be. Absolutely. And then in general, the whole plan has been sort of a bit of a facelift. As you may have noticed before, things kind of sink into the background there. As you can see up at the top bar, it's kind of a little glowiness to it. And I've added shortcuts area as well. So there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts in here. In and out zooms. You can move around with your arrows, and you can copy paste items. That's another one. So if I was to grab, let's say I have a few items here. I have a prompter, a monitor, and a HDMI monitor. And then my keyboard, if I hit Control Copy or Control C, sorry, and then Control V, you'll see that I get 3 new items, which is what you'd expect. I can press C to clear all of that. I can grab an item and press delete to delete it. So lots of nice little improvements, using the arrow keys to move around, or shift arrows to move around a lot faster. This is like a little demo of H2R Gear. So that's a look at that. Question here from Shane and Hannah Holland. Can we use it too? If you mean H2R Gear, then absolutely. I've put a link in the chat there to check out H2R Gear if you haven't already. It's just a tool that you can use, a web app. It's free to get started and use if you have a couple of plans, and if you don't, then and you want to expand that, then you can subscribe as well. So that's a quick look at H2R Gear. You can always check out the show or the release notes as well. If you're using the app and you want to see all the changes, then go for that and do it. Okay, questions. I'm going back a little bit now. Alex wants to know recommended hardware encoder. Do you trust the built-in ATEM Mini encoders? They haven't. The ATEM Mini built-in encoders have not let me down personally, to my knowledge. Nor has the Web Presenter internal encoder that's built for that. You would think it would work. So that hasn't let me down either. Excuse me. So I certainly trust them, yes. But one thing I'm always worried about is putting all of my show onto one device and hoping for the best that that doesn't crash at some point. My PC today, while I was setting up for this live stream, it blue screened once, and also all the screens were flickering at another time, and I wasn't really doing anything. So if I was using that PC to bring in all my cameras, to live stream and to record, and it did that, I would just be out of luck. So to spread the load between multiple devices is something I'll always encourage. So while I trust the ATEM Mini encoders, I would recommend, if you can, to split up your load a little bit. So if the ATEM Mini crashes, at least maybe your web presenter still works, and you can still stream something else to that. So I recommend that. A device that has come up again and again as a really reliable one is the Pearl Nano from Epiphan, which I have right there. It's not really doing anything right now, but it's a really solid device. I haven't heard anything so far negative about that. Nobody has necessarily spoken up about how it's let them down. It is a pricey item. I can't remember the price off the top of my head, but the maybe I can just bring it up here. Pearl Nano. Oh wow, I'm really zoomed in for some reason to the website. Yeah, so the Epiphan Pearl Nano is just like this little it can be rack mounted, but it's sort of like a little desktop unit, which is perfect for SRT, RTMP, all of the usual streaming stuff. And there is several inputs and like a SDI and HDMI, and you can do some compositing in there, but or layer building, but I wouldn't necessarily use that for that. But it's a pretty rock solid encoder as well. A couple of thoughts there. Are you able to trigger recordings in camera from the Constellation? Oh, I don't think you can do that. Since the Constellation doesn't have recording built in, there are no options in that section. Where is that usually at? It's in the output section. Yeah, exactly. So here in the HM software control, I have my Constellation HD set up, the 2ME, and there is no record and stream options here. So therefore, there's no way to press record, nor is there a way to tell it to record on all cameras at the same time. So I don't think that would be possible at all. I wonder if you were to connect a smaller ATEM and record a macro that pressed record and record on all cameras, would running a macro like that on the 8SIM Constellation work? That could be something to try, but I highly doubt that. I highly doubt it would work. So I don't think you can do that. Aaron, let me see what else. Any other questions came in here? How do you handle Ethernet? Is it still the same in-out connector? Alvin wants to know. Actually, Ethernet is the same as the USB connector. Do I have any Ethernet here? No, I do not. Let me just get rid of your comment real quickly. And do I not have any Ethernet at all in this plan? I'm very surprised to see that. But if I was to real quickly build a network device here with, I guess I could just put Ethernet out like that and add it to the plan. So I have Ethernet coming out of this one, and it goes into that one. And you can see here that it has the same non-arrow, so just a little like nudge on either end here. And you can connect it either way as well. So it's the same idea. There's no different way of showing Ethernet. It's not like it shows up on the side or anything like that. I just didn't feel like that would really work quite well. So it's the same as USB right now, which is that it doesn't necessarily say what way the data flows, which is, I think, a little bit clearer and better. And yes, that was H2RGear.com. Subtle sales pitch there. Yes, Thomas says Murphy's Law. Murphy's blue screen of death law. Computer blue screens only during productions. Terrifying. I don't think I've ever had a blue screen actually during a production, but that is terrifying. I have once had to restart a computer during a production, and that computer wanted to update, and I clicked restart too fast to realize that. So I did watch the computer update slowly while a production was happening. This was just the video playback computer, so it wasn't like crucial to the production. But I was restarting it before the end of the show so that I could play the credit roll at the end of the show. So it was a scary moment. Good to have David Joshua Ford joining late. We were just talking about you earlier. You missed that. Talking about your camera setup. So scroll back and see if we got anything wrong, David, and then join us at the end here. I hope I didn't miss anything too much here. Orion coming in with the 3D printing stuff. I use Tinkercad for loads of stuff. Fusion 360 for more advanced stuff. Good to hear you're getting into that stuff. Oh yeah, we almost missed IBC. One of the one of the discussion points for the show. Come on, that's why I made a list of things to talk about during the show. So IBC, I'll get the website up for that actually, just in case you are unfamiliar with IBC, but it is a trade show for our very industry. If you're in this sort of industry, happens in Amsterdam every year, so long as there's not a pandemic happening. But this year it's looking like it's going to happen on the 9th to the 12th of September. And it's a huge trade show with all sorts of brands and companies there that we have all grown familiar with, of course. And it's a perfect meeting point for people like us to get together. And one of the things we're going to do there is have an official, I'm here to record IBC meetup. So this will be anyone who wants to join. There's no real details yet. You'll see on this very sparse page here that there's not really much details yet. I've added a link in the chat below, and I will also add one in the live chat as well, so you can check out this page here. But do register. It's free to register, and the plan is on September the 9th, which is Friday, the first day of the show, at 4 until about 5, we will get together, anyone who's there, and just hang out. It's not going to be a live stream or recording. It's just going to be a general chit-chat, meet, and let's talk. I'm going to bring a bunch of swag with me, like official Here to Record coasters and stickers and all sorts of stuff like that. So if you want some of that stuff, then this would be a good time to grab it. I have so many different stickers for Here to Record. Here's one on my water bottle. In fact, I have a few here. This is like a cool graphic, holographic version of my opening thing. This is a sticker, not right now, but I have a sticker like this. I'm here to record, blah, blah, blah. So that'll be fun. Maybe if I have the better prototype for the SDI removal tool by then, maybe you can get one of those from me. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to bring that, but we'll see. So if you're interested in this fun stuff, like meeting up and chatting, then register for free for that. Not going to cost you anything, and I just want to know how many people are up for it, and then we can figure out what to do, whether that's just stand in a hallway somewhere and shake hands or not. But it would help me a lot if you registered your interest and said that you were definitely coming to IBC and were up for hanging out. Okay. Cool. Time is running slow. One thing I was going to chat about a little bit today, but I guess I haven't really set it up that much yet, is the where did it go? There. The Cloud Pod from Blackmagic is something I've been playing with a little bit. I've just set it up on my local network here, so you can see the monitor output of it there. I'm just showing real quick. This device, it's actually just above me here, but nothing's happening on it right now, so you can't actually see it doing anything. I wonder if I went to it on the network and opened the drive, would anything light up? I guess not. No, boring. Something I'm playing around with. Maybe I can make some. I'll make a video about that for sure. But I just like this little graphical output from it. It's a bit like the web presenter, but you can see there on the bottom where I just interacted with it a little bit. It's quite neat. It's sort of like, we have a HDMI output, let's put something on it. So they put that on there. Fun. But we can come to that in a future video and live stream whenever I had some time to test it out. And if it's something you've used before, I'm keen to hear your expertise and experience on it so far, because it's still early days for me. A couple more questions here. Peter says, speaking of macros, can you create macros on the Television Studio 4K to change scopes on the smart scope? I don't believe so. I don't believe you can do that. I think that the two devices are separate, because the smart scope has its own little app that you use. In fact, I think I have the, yeah, I don't have the scope version, but I have the Smart View application here on my computer. So the scope version looks a bit like this. But I believe you can actually connect the smart scope over network and talk to it through Companion. So you could set up Companion buttons to change what's on the scopes, but not through macros on the 8M, if I'm not mistaken. People have already answered that. I think Companion can change the scopes over the network, but I don't think 8M can trigger it. Absolutely. I believe that. On Location Live TV, I disabled automatic updates on all of something. Oh, wait, production PCs for that same reason. Yeah, that's a good idea. Disable automatic updates on production PCs. John says, and somebody else as well. Yeah, John says, would love to meet up, but I'm not attending IBC. Are you heading to NAB New York? Looks like David's going. I don't think I'll be making it to NAB New York. It probably wouldn't. It's a little bit far for me to travel, I think. Certainly this year. What date is that happening on? 19th of October? Yeah, it's not going to happen this year, unfortunately. I am really keen to go NAB Vegas, though. Some year. Maybe not next year. We'll see. but I'm quite keen to make that happen. I'm really going to see how IBC goes this year if I'm interested in this kind of trade show, because I've never been to one like that. I may despise it or I may love it. We'll see. Time will tell on that one. Grant says, is the BMD Cloud Store worth it if we use BMD switchers and cameras for recording, don't use Resolve for editing? I can't really answer that just yet. I'm only dipping my feet into it, but I feel like Resolve for editing is a big piece of the puzzle. So you'll end up just using it as like a way to move files from a hard drive to Dropbox and back. I probably would go down that route if I'm on the Resolve line. Here's a question. Companion versus mix effect versus central control for scaling in an organization. Ooh, that's a great question. You know, I don't have a huge amount of experience with central control. I have chatted with Joe, I think it is, from Central Control, about the app, and I've gotten some details on it and looked into it a little bit, but I certainly use mix effect and companion a lot more than that. Scaling within an organization is a tough one. I might actually have to have a think about that a bit longer. I think, though, mix effect, unless Adam has changed things, in mix effect, having multiple iPads and registering multiple iCloud accounts and buying it multiple times can be a little bit tricky. But that might have been something he could change or has changed already. But they're very, I would say, quite different. They're all kind of around the same realm, but different slants on how to do it. I think they're different enough, and I can't say central control just now. Okay, last question for the day, since time has got the better of me. IT never gets old. On a completely different front, does anyone have any ideas for solid multicam presenters podium would like to encompass an ATEM and audio? I'm going to leave that up to the wider audience to answer. Maybe that's a good question for Discord, actually. Ask that over there, since we can all think about it and chime in with some thoughts. Because that's a thinker. I don't think I could vamp a good answer fast enough that I could stand behind. So, what a solid last question. Just kidding. And namaste, everyone. Go Web Technologies. If you're just coming now, then you're way too late. Although it sounds like it's Indian Independence Day, so it's a very good reason. Sorry for asking. Oh, you did ask. Okay, you posted on Discord and nobody responded. Okay, apologies. You know what? I'll hunt that down and have a think about it and answer on Discord instead. So sometimes people don't have good answers, and I also noticed that Discord has been very quiet in the last week for holidays and all sorts of reasons. So I'm not terribly surprised, but let's try and get you an answer to that. Or maybe there's just no good answer. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Wow, that was one hell of a live show, I think. I talked, even though I'm just by myself, I talk more than I usually do, I believe. Like, I got so excited about talking about cables and 3D printers and all that fun stuff. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around. If you want to be a part of the members-only pre-Zoom call, show Zoom call, and post-show Zoom call, which we will hang out in for the next 25 minutes or so here on the channel after the live stream ends, then become a member of the YouTube channel with the join button below. You can do that and you can join us next time. You'll get a link to the Zoom call and we can hang out for like 2 hours and talk about all this fun stuff. Otherwise, I'll see you in another couple of weeks for another live stream. I may try my very, very best to schedule one more live stream in the next week or so, because I am very close to 30k subscribers, so like 70 subscribers away from that. Please don't unsubscribe now. The 70 people that are watching, don't leave now. But I would love to do like a 30k something, so that'll be fun. Maybe in the next week or so that will happen, and I can do that. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next 2 weeks on another live stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let me see if I have all my pieces in place here for the end of the show. I think so. Yes, good. Special big thanks, of course, as usual, to the supporters of the channel. We have our Supreme supporters, which is really slow credits today. Off Air with Jezza, good to have you here. Revolutionary Lightboards, Marlon, Patrick, and Jim at Cloud Bedrock. Thanks a lot for your support on the channel. And oh no, I didn't show all the little faces. I always like to do that. Did I press it? I pressed it too late. Oh well. I guess I will see you in the next live stream. Until then, all the best. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.